We all know the gut punch of prejudice, the silent dismissal, the competence erased by stereotype, that cold knot in your stomach when the mask slips, whether in a bank lobby, at a silent boarding gate, or in an office where your ideas become invisible. But that moment of dismissal is also your moment of maximum leverage. Abuse becomes accountability through three deliberate choices: document, cite policy, escalate smartly. Wanna see why? Forget shouting. Shouting lets them frame you as emotional or erratic. We want clear, actionable proof. We want policy itself to enforce dignity. We aim for less panic, more proof, more power. This is about turning indignation into quiet professional competence that cannot be argued away. We are aiming for the moment the room goes quiet, the manager's confidence cracks, and the truth of their bias becomes a massive financial liability for their employer. Let's talk about money. When you hit bias where it lives, in the quarterly report, in the compliance audit, in the cost of a withdrawn contract, justice moves fast. Meet Julian. Julian is a lead partner in a private equity firm, quietly conducting incognito due diligence. He's asking for a modest commercial line of credit at a regional bank he's considering acquiring a stake in. His focus is the institution's culture, specifically how mid-level officers treat non-traditional clients. He sits across from Alex, a loan officer whose demeanor suggests practiced suspicion. Julian is requesting $750,000 for a community development venture. The meeting turns toxic immediately. Alex leans back, reviewing the stellar financials with dismissive speed. "This seems speculative," Alex says, his tone laced with heavy doubt. "Frankly, Mr. Hayes, given the lack of traditional collateral, and let's be honest, your background doesn't exactly scream established industry veteran, I think we're looking at a hard no. Our underwriting matrix is very specific. It's policy." Julian nods. The classic microaggression, assumption of poverty, requirement of double proof, shielded by the vague armor of policy. The common mistake? Arguing about feelings or fairness. Alex will just repeat policy. Policy beats ego until you know the policy better than they do. Julian had prepared not just a business plan, but a justice plan. He switches modes. No raised voice, no anger, just competence. This is the shift from feeling victimized to implementing accountability. But first, the pause. If you feel the rage beginning to boil, you must reset. The 10-minute justice prep. This is about control, not confrontation. Take 10 minutes, or even 2 in a restroom stall, to center yourself. Aj 1. Center and breathe. Find a quiet spot. Sit tall. Inhale for 4. Hold for 4. Exhale slowly for 6. Repeat until physical tension drops. You are safe. You are prepared. 2. Posture and presence. Stand or sit tall. Look people directly in the eye, calmly, steadily. Your dignity is non-negotiable. 3. Policy note. Ready. Pull up the specific policy or regulatory framework on your phone. For banking, it's Reg B, Equal Credit Opportunity Act. For housing, FHA. For airlines, FAA discrimination regulations. Have the text visible. 4. The neutral phrase. Prep a neutral high-leverage phrase. Memorize it. I'd like a supervisor and a written copy of the policy you are citing, specifically the section that addresses X collateral Charwai loan amount. This phrase stops the room. 5. Start witness mode. Set your phone to record audio or video. Be aware of local consent laws. Note the time, date, and names clearly. Silence is evidence. Record, report. This ritual moves you from reaction to strategy. You are professionally documenting a liability. Julian returns to the table, centered. "Alex," Julian begins, his voice firm but quiet. "I appreciate the candor, but I need clarification. You cited underwriting specifics. Could you point me to the specific language in the bank's Reg B compliance manual that prohibits unsecured financing for assets valued at 10 times the requested principal, merely based on the applicant's personal background? Alex freezes. He expected an argument about fairness, not regulatory language. He stalls. I don't carry the compliance manual, sir. That's standard industry practice. We look at the total picture. Understood, Julian continues, never pausing. Citing the rule that shuts the room, then I assume you are familiar with the bank's internal procedure for escalating potential ECOA violations. Section 4 PECT, specifically the requirement to log all adverse action notices and the required supervisory review within 72 hours. Based on my financial disclosures, I believe your rejection falls outside established, non-discriminatory lending criteria. I am requesting a copy of the specific written adverse action notice, signed by a supervisor, today. The shift is immediate. Alex's face goes pale. He realizes Julian isn't a hopeful borrower. He is an informed threat. He used 3 words that freeze a racist policy. ECOA violation. Alex stammered. Sir, I think we can review this internally. Maybe if you came back next week. No, Alex, we'll finish today. Given the complexity of the rejection, which appears to ignore my existing asset base and proven track record, I require immediate supervisory review and documentation. If you can't provide that, I will be escalating this directly to the compliance and legal departments. I'm prepared to formally request a full fair lending audit of your branch, starting with this meeting. The sentence that stops the room is always based on compliance. Julian has not mentioned race once. He has named the crime, the policy failure, and the consequence, a massive regulatory audit. Just then, a commotion starts near the main entrance. A small group in tailored suits is entering the lobby. Alex, panicking, is trying to wave over a mid-level manager when his eyes lock onto the lead figure. It is Ms. Chen, the bank's chief operating officer, known for her severe, policy-driven approach to risk. She sees Alex arguing with a client, stops, and her team stops too. The bank lobby holds its breath. Ms. Chen marches across the marble floor. Alex scrambles to speak first. Ms. Chen, this client is being demanding about... Alex, silence. Ms. Chen interrupts, her voice sharp. She looks at Julian. Mr. Hayes, I am terribly sorry for the delay and any confusion. I didn't realize you had started your cultural assessment already. Alex looks utterly bewildered. Cultural assessment? The day the badge flipped. Miss Chen turns to Julian, who now carries the air of quiet authority. Julian smiles slightly, controlled and knowing. He had done his due diligence on Alex, and Alex had failed the test spectacularly. Julian Hayes isn't just a partner. He is the principal negotiating partner for the firm, planning a strategic merger that involves acquiring a 40% stake in this very bank. The potential deal value is $1.2 billion. Julian's first action was to test the baseline integrity of the lending culture. The culture seemed inconsistent with your regulatory filing disclosures, Ms. Chen, Julian states calmly. Officer Alex here seems unfamiliar with the institution's basic fair lending policies, prioritizing his own subjective assessments over established criteria. That level of operational risk is something my partners and I will need to factor into our valuation model. Silence descends, thick and profound. Alex looks devastated. The potential bias that costs 1.2B suddenly becomes terrifyingly real. Ms. Chen doesn't hesitate. Losing this deal over a junior officer's bias is career suicide. Accountability, fueled by financial risk, is swift. Officer Alex, collect your personal items. Report immediately to HR and compliance. Your access credentials are now frozen. We will review your actions in accordance with our zero-tolerance policy for discriminatory practices. I will personally ensure a full review of your entire portfolio. She turns back to Julian. embodying professionalism, humility, and immediate consequence. Mr. Hayes, this behavior is unacceptable. I assure you, we will initiate an immediate branch-wide audit of all adverse action notices filed in the last 6 months. We will also mandate immediate comprehensive remedial training on EQOA and unconscious bias for all lending personnel starting tomorrow morning. Big deal, bigger dignity. Julian didn't need to shout about racism. He demonstrated superior competence, cited the policy, and exposed the institutional risk. He didn't get an argument. He got a contract withdrawn, a firing, and a systemic fix mandated, all in 24 hours. Allies change outcomes. Ms. Chen acted as an institutional ally, but Julian's preparation was the key. He came ready to transform the situation from personal offense into professional liability. This shift from victim to auditor is how we protect our dignity while demanding justice. Remember, your goal is not to convince the biased person they are wrong. Your goal is to give the institution undeniable evidence that keeping the biased person is costing them money and risking regulatory sanctions. The proof that ends the excuse is always documented policy failure. Let's look at why this works, whether you are facing a loan officer, a landlord, or a low-level manager at a transport hub. Authority abuse and the power of policy. When someone uses their title and policy as a shield for personal bias, we counter by naming the specific rule that governs their behavior. When an officer tells you, "The policy says I can do this," ask them calmly, "Could you please state the exact section of the company's operating manual or the relevant federal regulation that governs this action? I'd like to ensure full compliance on both sides." This forces them from vague prejudice to specific policy citation. Most times they can't. They are inventing the rule. When they falter, you ask for the supervisor and hit record. This applies everywhere. Workplace humiliation. If a manager mocks your competence or assigns you tasks below your pay grade based on assumptions, do not argue about feelings. Cite the HR Policy Manual, Title 7 of the Civil Rights Act if applicable, and document the tasks, time, and witness accounts. The quiet step that flips a mega contract is often just detailed documentation showing a pattern of professional harm. Airport, airline, bias. If you are denied a seat, access, or subjected to unnecessary scrutiny at the gate, always ask for the specific FAA or TSA regulation being violated. The refusal to provide that regulation is an immediate red flag for their superior. When the agent realizes you know more about their operating rules than they do, they are the one under scrutiny. We move from invisibility to competence by revealing that we are not just consumers or employees. We are informed citizens who know the legal and regulatory landscape of their industry. The best justice tool has no shouting. It's a spreadsheet, a regulation number, and a calm, centered voice. Solidarity and reciprocal justice. Justice is not always solitary. It is built on allies. Ms. Chen protected her institution's future, aligning self-interest with anti-racism. We frame accountability as necessary risk mitigation for the corporation. We also rely on everyday allies, the witness who hits record, the colleague who confirms the discriminatory pattern. If you are documenting an abuse, send that documentation immediately to a trusted ally outside the situation, a friend, a lawyer, a professional organization. Email it with the subject line, "Documentation of incident, date, time." This ensures the evidence is safe and time-stamped, transforming vulnerability into community strength. The 3 calm steps. 1 loud result. Documentation, policy reference, professional escalation. This is how we move from abuse to accountability, from fear to agency. Always respect your limits. Avoid physical confrontation. Document and escalate through proper channels. Laws and policies vary by place. Adapt your citations. If you are in physical danger, prioritize safety above all else and seek immediate help. Your safety is paramount. This journey demands calm courage. It demands preparation. But the result, dignity restored, injustice corrected, and a loud, clear message sent to the institution is worth every centered breath. Okay, breathe. Your homework starts today. I'm asking you to prepare for your next interaction with competence, not just hope. Your challenge. Yatra 1. Choose Yudbas in action. Today, save the name and contact of the relevant regulatory body for your industry, e.g., Fair Housing Authority, EEOC, FAA, CFPB, or set up a voice memo shortcut on your phone labeled Witness Mode. 2. Do the prep. Spend 10 minutes performing the justice prep ritual. Find your neutral phrase. Feel the shift from tension to control. This preparation is not inviting conflict. It is preparing for dignity. It is recognizing that while we cannot control prejudice, we can control our response and the consequence. Tell me, what action will you start today? And what scenario, maybe dealing with police bias or institutional housing discrimination, do you want us to script next? Let's build the narrative of justice together.